Oh, hi. Hello. Welcome. I did not just open up not OBS, VTube Studio last minute. Don't worry about it. Sky! Hi, Sky! Thanks for the raid. What were you doing? What the fuck? What's happening? What is happening? I just started stream. What the fuck? What are you doing? What were you playing? What's the weather? Weather's bro, it's so humid here. It's so humid in my apartment. Without me? You sang Spirit without me? What the fuck? Da, 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 da. Anyway, hi. It's Scummy Sunday. You dedicated it to me. Oh my god. Well, thanks for the raid. If any of y'all want to dip, that's fine. We're reading a book, and we're on the last book, so if you don't want to be spoiled for it, that's fine, but if you just want to hang out, that's fine too. It's a fun time. You might not know what's going on, but it's fun. So who cares? Oh, I didn't do an introduction. Hi, I'm Aries, I'm a spirit-infused cat boy, and I'm gay. Okay. What am I doing? I'm taking my jacket off and I'm bringing up my book. That's what I'm doing, because I'm a professional. Because I know how to do these things. Hi Mothman, how you doing? Okay. Do you know there's a book of Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron? But it's like more about his mom. I don't know, I was talking about it with my sister the other day. Is my chat box gonna work today? Wait, hang on. Where's chat? It's working! Yay! Guys, I figured out what's wrong with OBS. I did not figure out what's wrong with OBS. I figured out that if I start it, if I close OBS through my task manager, and then I open it safely, but run in safe mode, and then close that, and then open it again, then it'll work. So, wow. You should read it after this book. But it's not gay enough. It'll be a one-shot. It'll be like a start to finish stream. It's a short book, I think. Anyway, we are reading Scum Villain. Well, the full name is the Scum Villain Self-Saving System. It's my favorite book ever. There are hardcovers out. I need the box set. I might do a subathon for them. Literally just to get the fucking box set because I need it. You don't understand. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I don't need headphones. No. Oh my god. Those subs are 20% off right now. True. Why is that? That's just Twitch. I don't know. I didn't do that. I didn't set that up. This is fucking hell. Thanks for this sub, Yoshio. Hi. Alright. We shall get into the stream now. Into the proper of the stream. September. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. The proper of the stream. I've been very stimmy today because I was singing my song. And it goes. It's a very stimmy song. I'm hearing music outside. Anyway, we are on chapter 17 called Tianlang, which is the father of Binghe, if you have been here in the past streams or know of this story. Tianlang Jun is Binghe's daddy. And he's so slay and so goddamn, I love him so much. Oh my god. Go to sleep. It's such a good stim. Oh no. Alright, we're on page 113. I can do math. But I think we'll be good for reading today because I've been recording and my voice is all warmed up. So yeah. Oh, baby, how was I? That's what they're playing outside right now. Anyway. Tianlang. Let's go. after this person stops distracting me with the music. Okay. Ay. Tianlang. When Shen Qingqiu woke, whoa, great. I always get the first line so wrong every single time, so it's like a ritual now. When Shen Qingqiu woke, the air was dry and his throat itched. He was just swallowed by a snake, by the way. He rolled into a sitting position. A young, dark-skinned demon girl was crouched next to him, and as soon as she saw him wake, she called outside in a thick accent, "He's up!" Tianlang Jun lifted the curtain with one hand and poked his head in. He raised an eyebrow. "Peak Lord Shen has certainly been asleep for a long time." Expression wooden, Shen Jingzhou wiped his face and confirmed that no scent of an enormous, slithering creature's gastric liquids lingered on his body. The gauze curtains billowed in the dry wind, and he took in the scenery outside. He lay atop a giant serpent with black scales. The serpent carried a splendid platform on its back as it steadily slithered along the ground. Ooh, alliteration. Sibilance. They were surrounded by a number of demons of all sizes in whole or half-beast form, gathered into an army that was miscellaneous in make, yet grand in scale. Currently, they were on the march. Shen Jingzhou determined that this was likely the southern border territories of the demon realm. The northern border was Mobe Jun's territory, and now it belonged to Luo Bingke. Humanoid demons were in the majority there, and they specialized in the magic arts. Demons with mixed or bestial forms were only common at the southern border, where they formed some sort of animal planet. Animal planet in caps. Capitalized. Who could say where Tianlang Jun was bringing all these demons, or what he was planning to do? After Shen Jingzhou finished taking stock of his surroundings, he suddenly noticed that the right side of his chest, as well as that entire arm, still stung and tingled, and it moreover felt a bit lethargic. He drew a deep breath, made all the adequate mental preparations, and looked down. It looked even worse than he'd expected. It was like a false limb of branches and leaves had been grafted onto him. A dense thicket of fleshy green sprouts and foliage covered his right arm, and they shivered with every move of his body, no matter how minute. His hand was numb, and he couldn't even curl his fingers. It was me yesterday. After this single glance, he couldn't bring himself to look anymore. Zhu Ya was right by him. He really fucking wanted to take it and slice his arm clean off. Then Zhujilang popped up, holding a little metal furnace that emitted wisps of smoke. Shen Jingzhou reacted to the sight of this fellow as he would to the sight of a ghost. "What are you doing?" he demanded, alarmed. Zhujilang froze on the spot. "This one only wanted to help Immortal Master Shen." Shen Jingzhou made a shushing gesture before his own mouth. These were the words he most feared hearing from Zhujilang. By now, he'd been enlightened to the nature of the snake's repayment. Zhujilang had repaid and repaid him until he'd swallowed Shen Jingzhou into his belly. Zhujilang awkwardly lifted his sleeves as if he was going to cover his mouth, but then lowered them back down. "Immortal Master Shen, please trust me," he coaxed him in an earnest tone. "If the ties that bind are not removed more than 7 times a day, the root fragments will lodge inside your flesh forever. I've only extracted them 3 times today, and this is a crucial juncture. If they're not extracted, Immortal Master Shen will be unable to keep this arm." Once he heard there was a risk of disability, Shen Jingzhou lost all regard for his psychological needs and immediately offered his arm. Zhujilang retrieved a red-hot coal from the little metal furnace, held it in his bare hand, and slapped it onto Shen Jingzhou's chest. Shen Jingzhou had no words. He'd just known he couldn't expect Zhujilang to help him in a normal manner. As soon as the coal touched the sprouts of ties that bind on his chest, they withered and curled under the heat, burning down to the roots. Shen Jingzhou wanted to grimace at the pain, but because that would be too unsightly, he tensed his face and bore it. After Zhujilang had burned every patch of skin budding in budding in green sprouts. Shen Jingzhou's right arm was at last presentable, at least for the time being. I forgot to take my tea bag out of my tea. He's burning his arm. Oh no. the paper at the end of the tea bag string broke. It's fine. It's fine. I got it. That right arm is seriously cursed. It is. But I love it. That's too hot. Okay. We're gonna go without that for a bit. Where was I? Tianlang put the coal away. I will have to burn them 3 more times in the afternoon and evening. Shen Jingzhou pulled the outer robe he had removed earlier back over his shoulders. Tianlang accidentally glimpsed this and quickly lowered his head. Outside, Tianlang laughed. Silly child, what are you getting embarrassed for? Right. Shen Jingzhou also wanted to ask, what are you getting embarrassed for? What was there to be embarrassed about in a chest and arm that had just been riddled with fresh vegetation? What was there to be embarrassed about with regards to a being you'd swallowed and spat back up? My lord, please don't make fun of this subordinate, Tianlang said in all seriousness. This subordinate absolutely does not have any improper intentions toward immortal Master Shen. He looked at Shen Jingzhou, then emphasized, not the kind of improper intentions that Lo Binghe possesses. And I can use my reverb again. What are you emphasizing that for? Tianlang scurried off the snake's back, carrying his little furnace, and returned to the ground to direct the troops. After being blown away by the wind for a while, Shen Jingzhou began to look around, searching everywhere he could see. Shinmo. Where was Shinmo? Oh, outside, next to where Tianlang Jun was sitting. The sword had been tossed aside next to his feet. Shen Jingzhou was going to split his sides laughing. Oh, what? That's immortal. What? Okay, no, this is all in italics. Okay. That's proud immortal demon Wei's #1 mystic sword, the #1 solid golden finger in all of heaven and earth, and you just randomly chucked it somewhere? Is that really okay? Tianlang Jun had been propping his cheek on his hand, staring off into the distance, but when he noticed Shen Jingzhou's strange expression, he asked, What is Peak Lord Shen looking at? He paused, then followed his gaze down. This sword of mine. That's Lo Binghe's sword, Shen Jingzhou said flatly. Tianlang Jun smiled carelessly. Peak Lord Shen, there was something I very much wanted to ask you. Go ahead, he said. Ask whatever. I'll answer whatever. Have you... Oh my god. Fucking hell. I hate this bitch. Fucking forgot about this. Holy shit. Hang on. Let me drink some tea first because that was a real cough. Have you and my son dual cultivated? Shen Jingzhou thought about what he thought that Shen Jingzhou thought he had heard wrong. My apologies. What did you say? Tianlang Jun impatiently repeated. I asked Peak Lord Shen, have you and Lo Binghe? Shen Jingzhou's face twitched, and he made a stop gesture. Or does Peak Lord Shen not understand what I mean by dual cultivated? What I mean is, that's enough, Shen Jingzhou said. Have a sense of shame, okay? He forced himself to assume an air of calm. Why would you think that I've dual cultivated with him? To tell the truth, I've always admired human realm culture and customs, said Tianlang Jun. So? What the hell did admiring human realm customs have to do with this question? Tianlang Jun raised a finger and waved it, quietly humming a sweet and amorous tune. Shen Jingzhou had maintained a neutral expression on his face like a proper grown man, but as Tianlang Jun continued humming, his aloof countenance grew shakier and shakier. Motherfucking regret of Chunshan! How had it already spread to the demon realm? Oh my god. Hydrate. I'll hydrate. Thank you. The regret of Chunshan is the canon fanfic of Lobeka and Shen Jingzhou in the story. God, I love MXDX so much. Tianlang Jun hummed 2 whole stanzas, pleased and seeming like he wished to continue. Only the human realm, with its outstanding people and remarkable terrain, could nurture such an unparalleled masterpiece. The daring of the plot and the splendor of the verse are truly worthy of such compliments, especially how every section ends with a hook that leaves one simply unable to stop, full of anticipation for the next installment. Wow, and apparently this thing is fucking sterilized too. Wait a minute, said Shen Jingzhou. The first time we met in the Holy Mausoleum, you said it was an honor to meet me at last. So, Tianlang Jun hadn't said that just to be polite. He'd been looking forward to meeting Shen Jingzhou ever since encountering that pornographic little ditty. This is exactly what I meant, Tianlang Jun said with pleasure. Communicated with the boss about his interests and hobbies, villain's character depth rating improved, friendliness levels increased. B points, plus 150. What the hell kind of interests and hobbies are those? Oh, hi, Shilin. Can't stay but popping into the chat, just say hello. Say hello. Okay. Have fun with it later. Have a good day. Oh my god. This one is just so full of everything, and I love it. The two of them stared at each other for a while until the dark-skinned demon girl, who had been taking care of Shen Jingzhou before he woke, ran over, lively as a little gazelle. Shen Jingzhou took a closer look and found that she really did have a pair of gazelle legs. The girl hopped up and down, looking up and yelling, "My lord, is the new place we're going to really, really nice?" Tianlang Jun waved at her with a smile. Of course, it's the best. Is there a lot of water? The girl asked, all innocent. Thanks for that. Rivers and mountain streams flowing everywhere beneath the sky. The girl cried out in joy and hopped off into the distance. Shen Jingzhou watched her retreating back, sensing something strange in this exchange. Where are you moving them? Peak Lord Shen has already come to a conclusion, Tianlang Jun said leisurely. Why must he ask when he knows the answer? In terms of geological features, rivers and mountain streams were the opposite of common within the demon realm. This nice place was undoubtedly the human realm. Given your numbers, it looks like at least a fifth of the demons of the southern border have gathered in this army, said Shen Jingzhou. Does your distinguished self think the cultivation world won't notice you crossing the borderlands in such a grand procession? Who said I had to cross the borderlands? Tianlang Jun asked. He stood and gave Shen Jingzhou a disdainful smile. What do you think I wanted this sword for? You're going to use Shinmo to create a rift between the two realms? To be more precise, to merge the two realms, Tianlang Jun corrected him. Merging the human and demon realms. Wasn't that the equivalent of crushing up 2 dimensions and mashing them together? Shen Jingzhou didn't find this idea unbelievable. In fact, he found it the exact opposite. He was certain that as long as one had I'm gonna read that again. He was certain that as long as one had Shinmo in hand, achieving this ambition, which sounded like some absurd feat of the imagination, was absolutely possible, because he had evidence from the original work. Merging the two realms was a lunatic move Lo Binka had pulled to fully unite the demon realm and cultivation world when the original world neared its conclusion. Before, Shen Jingzhou had always thought that the original work's Lo Binka was the one who he I'm gonna restart my brain a second. Before, Shen Jingzhou had always thought that the original work's Luo Bingke was the one he knew best. But thinking about it now, he realized that this character seemed very distant to him, almost like a stranger. That Luo Bingke cared not a single bit for the destructive consequences of such actions. His reason for doing it was that the separation of the realms made them difficult to govern, and resources were unevenly distributed. All his demon wives and lackeys kept blathering on about this, which annoyed him, so he decided to simply up and integrate them to make everything easier to manage. This is the present you want to give? Shen Jingzhou asked. That's quite a lot of malicious intent. Tianlang stroked his chin. I don't mean it as such, he said in a gentlemanly tone. I love the human realm very much, and enabling closer relations between the two races has always been my wish. Shen Jingzhou raised an eyebrow. Has Tianlang really never thought about it, or does he not care? Demons can adjust to the human realm, but how many humans outside of the cultivation world can grow accustomed to demons? Or, to put it in another way, he placed emphasis on the select words of the following question. Even if you love humans, can you guarantee that all the demons will love them as well? The races have been separated since ancient times, and countless conflicts still arise between them. If you merge the realms without proper consideration, you shouldn't dream of having a single day of peace. Peak Lord Shen is undeniably someone of the four major sects. You all sing that song, Tianlang said helplessly. This is a bit abrupt, but it was my original intent. It wasn't my original intent either. Having experienced one loss, I can only forge ahead, merge the realms first, and take care of the rest later. We'll take it slow. No matter how unaccustomed you may be to an unchangeable truth when first faced with it, you'll adjust in the end. All bosses are chunis. This really did seem like the law of nature, but Tianlang situation was rather special. Perhaps he had been an innocent and idealistic chuny before, who'd always thought that he could save the world and bring love and peace to the two races. After being trapped under Bailu Mountain for so long, he had become a bitter and resentful chuny. So, a gargantuan consequence like this would only be a bit abrupt, in his words. The last part even sounded like rape culture logic. If you violate a person often enough, they'll cooperate eventually. So do it first and think about the rest later. You know what? Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. Here they come. Here they come. Just around the river bend. Just around the river bend. Should I choose the smoothest course? Steady as the beating. Terrible movie, beautiful soundtrack, by the way. Fuck Disney, but beautiful soundtrack. Where was I? Shen Jingzhou couldn't resist asking. So, you and Su Xian, was that merely to promote closer relations between the races? When Tianlang suddenly heard this name, that smile which had spread across his face like liquid ink froze. He turned his head, and Shen Jingzhou could only hear him let out a quiet sigh. Xian. She was truly... Truly what? Shen Jingzhou pondered the subtitles. What? Nope. Shen Jingzhou pondered the subtleties in Tianlang tone. Agreeable and gentle, kind and pure, my angel. Cold and heartless, Tianlang continued. I loved her for that. Shen Jingzhou was going to split his sides laughing. Tianlang shrugged. But either way, she's already dead. So he didn't miss her at all. A demon's love would probably always be rather meager. Oh, Shen Jingzhou, you have much to learn, even though you've read this! You've read this already! You know that demons... Oh my goodness. This guy. Shen Jingzhou was silent for a moment. What exactly do you think of Luo Bingke? Tianlang Jun looked at him. I feel sorry for him. Shen Jingzhou put on an unaffected smile, but had no way to respond. Though Luo Bingke had never said a word about it before, Shen Jingzhou knew that he harbored some fantasies about his birth parents. He only knew that he had been born of a woman from a renowned sect and a noble of heavenly demon blood, but he didn't know who exactly his parents were or their names. In fact, he'd always secretly fantasized about whether his parents might still be alive, and how well they'd treat him, and how they'd never let him suffer the mildest slight. If Luo Bingke learned his birth father was this sort of person, with this kind of attitude, that this father might even look down on him because of his half-human parentage, those fantasies would become truly laughable. Once night fell, this grand this grand procession, with dust and sand billowing all around them, came to a stop on a lush plain. There they made camp, though the only ones who actually needed to camp were the fellow humanoid demons. Their beastly kin could just sleep under the open skies, in dirt burrows, in the trees, in the grass, wherever they could find. Shen Jingzhou's bed was inside a wide and comfortable white tent. Its exterior was simple, but the interior was fully stocked. Tianlang personally made all the arrangements before bringing him inside. Once the demon girl who had accompanied him this whole time left, Shen Jingzhou eagerly lay down on the bed, closed his eyes, and waited for dreams to descend upon him. I am curious to see when the next illustration is coming up, because I know it. Okay, we are reading at this stream. Okay, of course we are. Ooh, can we finish this chapter? I think we could. I think we're gonna do one chapter this week. This week? Yes, this week and the stream. Alright. An unknown amount of time later, he suddenly noticed the light shifting before his closed eyelids. Shen Jingzhou opened his eyes to see Luo Bingke kneeling in front of his bed. He only got half a sentence out of his mouth. Luo Bingke, listen to me, there's something very important, before Luo Bingke threw himself at him. He landed right on top of Shen Jingzhou, shoving him back into the bed, while something soft covered his mouth so entirely. He couldn't make even a single muffled sound. He could only lie there and glare, his face turning red with rage. Luo Bingke had no restraint. He deepened the kiss further and further, until he was gnawing at Shen Jingzhou like a small, biting animal. Shen Jingzhou finally managed to catch his breath. Luo Bingke, kneel! It's so good. It's so fucking good. Holy shit. Luo Bingke actually knelt with a sweep of his hem. Do you know why I told you to kneel? Luo Bingke kept his back ramrod straight and said, as a disciple, I violated Shizun. Who's talking about that? This master will settle that debt with you later. Tianlang Jun told you to hand over Shinmo, and you really just handed it over? I don't remember teaching you to be such a pure and sweet little fool. That was not said out loud. I had no choice, Luo Bingke said, and it was nothing major. Why wouldn't I hand it over? What do you mean by nothing major? That's the golden finger no one else could have even if they begged and cried. Reciting to himself that not even a mountain of gold can withstand a spendthrift. Shen Jingzhou said, do you not consider why he wanted Shinmo? What threat the northern and southern borders, as well as Sangchong Mountain and Huanhua Palace, would suffer? If Shizun is angry that I gave Shinmo to him because he was afraid it would endanger... What? Okay. Is Shizun angry that I gave Shinmo to him because he was afraid it would endanger all these places? Luo Bingke asked. Or only because it would endanger Sangchong Mountain? Hush up. What was he saying? This was just like those girls who continually pestered their men, saying things like, do you love me? Which do you love more, me or your career? Shenjingzhou wanted to keep hashing out the considerations of relative value with Luo Bingke and get back to business, but the words caught in his throat. The light of the demonic foot soldiers' torches lit the fabric of the tent from outside, and he heard cries of beasts and calls of purposefully lowered voices. No matter how he looked at it, this didn't seem like the world within a dream. So no matter how he looked at it, Luo Bingke was standing right there in his tent, and not in the dream realm. He had shown up in his real body. He didn't have Shinmo to serve as an anywhere door. Footnote, reference to a gadget in the popular children's drama Doraemon. Doraemon? The anywhere door opens a portal to wherever the user wishes. He didn't have Shinmo to serve as an anywhere door, and reaching here for the northern border required traveling 1,000 kilometers at minimum. Shenjingzhou really wanted to slap Luo Bingke upside the head, but when he considered this long journey, he had to think before doing anything to him. Of course he did. Of course he did. He always finds a way to stop himself, and it's beautiful. Luo Bingke was creeping closer again, like a snake slithering up the stick you hit it with. One of his legs was already on the edge of the bed, which made Shenjingzhou nearly spit blood, but he had to assume a Shizen's authority. Luo Bingke, aren't you too sure of yourself, thinking you're so skilled and courageous that you'd deliver yourself up all alone? At least 1/5 of the southern demons have joined this army, not to mention 2 seniors of your bloodline, who are most difficult to handle. If you're discovered, it will only mean your death. Shizen, I can't steal you back outright. I'm afraid they'd activate the blood mites in your body, but you can't expect me to just sit and wait, Luo Bingke said. Don't scold me anymore, Shizen. I really couldn't resist. Shenjingzhou kept pushing Luo Bingke's head away, doing all he could to maintain a proper Mian? I don't know. Did you alert anyone when you infiltrated the camp? Impossible, said Luo Bingke. If I wanted to be stealthy, not a soul would see me. There's only one thing I need to worry about. Before he could say exactly what that was, a light cough sounded from outside the tent, and they heard Zhuji-Lang's voice. Immortal Master Shen, have you retired? As soon as Luo Bingke heard this voice, murderous intent flared in his eyes, and he shot an ice-cold glare in that direction. Shenjingzhou hurriedly shoved him down and gave him a severe look, ordering him not to do anything rash. For some reason, even though Luo Bingke had been glared at, a faint blush rose on his cheeks. Shenjingzhou shuddered at the sight. Demonic troops were patrolling outside, while inside there was nowhere to hide. So, as a last resort, Shenjingzhou lifted the blankets on his bed, and Luo Bingke carefully slid beneath them. Outside, Zhuji-Lang wondered to himself, is he asleep this early? Everything was silent outside for a while, and Shenjingzhou almost thought Zhuji-Lang had left. He was about to let out a sigh of relief when Zhuji-Lang continued, Then, this humble one will be disturbing your rest. So you're coming in whether I'm asleep or not? Then why the hell did you even ask? Luo Bingke poked his head out and asked suspiciously, What is the snake coming to do with Shizen? Oh my god. What is the snake coming to do while Shizen's asleep? Just hide properly, you little rascal. Shenjingzhou shoved Luo Bingke's head back under the blanket and hopped off the bed. Don't come in. Zhuji-Lang indeed didn't come in. So you haven't retired? He asked, confused. Immortal Master Shen, why didn't you answer just now? I was tired and didn't want to talk. Zhuji-Lang, you can go. Zhuji-Lang was perplexed. Didn't we agree to I'm gonna burp. No, I'm not. Okay. Didn't we agree on this earlier today? Damn it. Indeed, earlier he had agreed to let Zhuji-Lang come back in the evening to burn off the rest of the ties that bind. Luo Bingke popped his head out again and quietly demanded, Agreed on what? Shen Jingzhou had just finished pilling a second set of blankets on top of Luo Bingke and lowered the bed curtains when Zhu Long stepped into the tent. He was holding that little metal furnace, gaze averted to the side. Immortal Master Shen, I beg your pardon for intruding so late at night, but further complications will arise if the ties that bind are not completely extracted. It would be too suspicious to drive him out after letting him in. Plus, Zhu Long was strangely hesitant to look at Shen Jingzhou too much either way, so he would just have to be careful. Shen Jingzhou stood in front of the bed curtains with a faint smile. I understand. Thank you for your trouble. I'm merely doing my duty, Zhu Long said politely. Immortal Master Shen, why don't you sit on the bed? He even took a step in that direction, but Shen Jingzhou slid in front of him and grabbed his arm, turning him around in a half-circle. Only when Zhu Long had his back toward the bed curtains did Shen Jingzhou continue. Not on the bed, right here. Dragged by the arm, Zhu Long had been inexplicably forced to about-face. Forced to what? Inexplicably forced to about-face. The fuck? But he was hesitant to ask why. He took it as a momentary whim and asked good-naturedly, while standing? Oh god. Oh god. It's fucking... Oh, Luo Bingke. You poor man. He has to hear all of this. Fuck off. While standing, Shen Jingzhou said resolutely, Immortal Master Shen will be able to bear it? Behind him, Luo Bingke threw off the blankets, fury written across his face. Shen Jingzhou remained impassive. I've grown used to it. Zhu Long nodded and turned to set the furnace on the table. Shen Jingzhou took this opportunity to send a palm strike at Luo Bingke across the space between them, knocking him back into the blankets and covering him back up at top speed. By the time Zhu Long turned around, both were in their proper places and nothing was amiss. Zhu Long retrieved the red-hot coal. Immortal Master Shen, please remove your outer robe. Shen Jingzhou looked down and began to very slowly untie his sash. He didn't dare to do it fast. If he really took it off, Luo Bingke would probably break both the bed and the other person in the room. His hands creaked with agonizing slowness, and after waiting for forever, Zhu Long finally couldn't help himself from taking a peek. Immortal Master Shen, is it too difficult with your fingers' condition? Do you need this humble one's assistance? Seeing Zhu Long begin to look up, Shen Jingzhou yanked at his lapels, and his outer robe slid right off his shoulder. Are they fucking? Are they? Are they? Are they? Let's see. Where? Huh? Hang on, I lost it. Having yanked it off like that, his robe fell to his feet. Then he shoved his arm under Zhu Long's nose, and the latter no longer had the attention to spare for anything else as he began examining it with care. After his tireless efforts to remove the ties that bind for a whole day, they finally showed signs of receding. The right half of Shen Jingzhou's chest and his right arm were no longer as lushly foliated as they had been when he had first awoken, and only a few scattered little buds remained. Luo Bingke silently set out a palm strike, and a wave of black chi rushed straight at Zhu Long's back. Shen Jingzhou waved his arm and sent a coal in Zhu Long's hand flying with a smack. The coal tumbled outside the tent, and having been slapped for no reason, Zhu Long was greatly perplexed. Yeah, I would be too. My hand slipped, Shen Jingzhou said apologetically. Zhu Long accepted this explanation without jumping a single mental hurdle and went outside to pick it up. He walked around for a time outside, confused. Where did it roll off to? With a tap of his foot, Shen Jingzhou leapt onto the bed. Shizun, what sort of days have you lived while under their thumb? Luo Bingke whispered. What sort of days? idle ones spent lazing around doing nothing, pretty much. Don't mess around, Shen Jingzhou whispered back. Then, with a smooth motion, he shoved Luo Binghe back under the blankets. Luo Binghe was sullen and utterly unwilling to just let things go on like this. He didn't think he'd be absolutely defenseless against Tianlang Jun, but as long as the blood mites in his Shizun's body were not removed, he had to restrain himself. With a crook of his finger, the outer robe on the floor flew into his hands, and he draped it over Shen Jingzhou's shoulder. I did that so wrong. It flew into his hand, and he draped it over Shen Jingzhou's shoulders. Put your clothes on. He said, cover up, slut. Outside, a minor demon passing by the tent greeted Judilang. General. Judilang acknowledged his greeting. You came at just the right time. Help me find something. His bearing and tone were entirely different from how he spoke to Tianlang Jun and Shen Jingzhou, and it truly matched his status as a big-shot general. Put what on? Shen Jingzhou asked. I was always going to take it off. I can't fucking read this part. It's so good. Luo Binghe was enraged. Shizun, why do you insist on taking off your clothes for him to see? He shoved Luo Binghe down again and again, but still failed to make him behave, and Judilang suddenly returned while Shen Jingzhou was still struggling. Not having the time to return to his original spot, Shen Jingzhou whirled around and threw himself down, getting into a seated position in the center of the bed. Immortal Master Shen, didn't you just say you didn't want to do it on the bed? Judilang asked. Shen Jingzhou laughed. Oh, really? Did I say that? In his haste to hide Luo Binghe, he'd accidentally sat on top of him. But that had worked out. Luo Binghe was finally docile and didn't move. Judilang walked up to the bed, and seeing the mess of blankets, casually remarked, Isn't Immortal Master Shen warm? Shen Jingzhou wanted only to get this over with as quickly as possible. He grabbed Judilang's arm and pressed the red-hot coal to his chest. Amid the hissing sounds of burning, he said calmly, It's not too warm. Then, Immortal Master Shen, does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. Please, Judilang said. Immortal Master Shen was always so reluctant every time before, yet tonight he's finally taken the initiative for once. This is how it should have been. I hate them. I hate them so much. It's just every single fucking line that he says. Oh my god. Shen Jingzhou wasn't listening at all carefully to what he was saying, only thinking to finish this as fast as possible, so he could shoo Judilang out as fast as possible. He asked, Is this enough? Judilang took the coal away. It's enough. Shen Jingzhou was overjoyed. Luo Binghe was probably at his limit too, but he never expected that Judilang would add, Just now, my lord said he wanted to visit you tonight. Before he finished the first syllable of the last word, Luo Binghe, at last, couldn't take it anymore and exploded into action. Shen Jingzhou hadn't even seen how Luo Binghe moved before Judilang was down on one knee, coughing up a mouthful of blood. When he looked up again, another person was on the bed. Luo Binghe had one arm around Shen Jingzhou, glaring at Judilang with fury in his eyes. After his initial shock, Judilang's expression quickly evolved into one of realization. You... Immortal Master Shen, you too. Shen Jingzhou buried his forehead in his hands. He didn't want to say a word. Luo Binghe lifted his other hand and made a clenching motion. A black handprint appeared on Judilang's throat, and his body jerked upward to float in midair. Don't kill him, there will be consequences, Shen Jingzhou cut in, and the situation isn't what you think it is. Luo Binghe's lips were taut, and veins popped on the back of his hand as his fingers tightened. Judilang's face slowly turned green, but he showed not a single sign of pain. Right then... It really fucking is. Right then, guess what happens then? Guess what happens? Right then, another voice spoke from outside the tent. Peak Lord Chen, may I come in? Why was it so lively tonight? Speak of the devil, Shenjingzhou's doorway was practically a marketplace. In a second, the faces of all three people inside the tent, the strangler, the strangled, and the witness, went dark. In a chaotic flurry of motion, Shen Jingzhou pointed at Tianlang, dangling by the throat, then pointed at Luo Bingke and made a motion to represent slitting someone's throat, followed by crossing his arms into an X. Who knew if Luo Bingke understood, since he just shook his head again and again? Under these circumstances, it was obvious that no one was going to answer the person outside. After a moment of silence, Tianlang Jun said, I'm coming in. He was just like his nephew. Both of them only asked for show before walking right in. So, when Tianlang Jun walked in, he saw precisely this scene. Judy Lang and Shen Jingzhou were pulling and tugging at each other as they tumbled upon the bed, a towering mess of blankets piled behind them. When Tianlang Jun entered, both of them whipped their heads around, and in those 4 eyes, on those 2 faces, were identical expressions, complexions splashed white and red. Shen Jingzhou's robe still hung off his elbow, halfway removed. Even with how much of a weirdo Tianlang Jun was, his smiling expression still froze on his face at this scene. Only after a while did he say in a light voice, How unexpected. Judy Lang blushed. My lord, the situation is a bit complicated. Either way, it's not what you think. His body blocked the blanket covering Luo Bingke, and Shen Jingzhou was half sprawled on top of him, hiding the hand Luo Bingke had clenched on the small of Judy Lang's back with, hang on. Hiding the hand Luo Bingke had clenched on the small of Judy Lang's back. A vital acupoint. And this is the moment! This is the moment of all moments. Oh, I need to do a thing. Hang on. Save a copy and no. This is all wrong. All of my shit is messed up. Hang on, it's worth it, I promise. I promise it's worth it. Oh, where is it? Scum villain, here. There we go. Here we go. Bam! It's fucking good. I love this so much. It's so stupid. Oh, it's so stupid. We're not even an hour in, folks. We're not even an hour in. And they pull this shit. Okay, anyway. We'll just continue while that is up. You guys can gaze and watch and enjoy that. I've seen this so many times, so I've zoomed and examined this painting, this piece of art, literally, many a times. With their sprawled positions combined with the fluttering curtains, it would definitely be difficult to discover there was an extra person for some time yet. Tianlang Jun nodded. He actually seemed a bit happy as he said, There's no need to explain. I understand. I understand everything. Given his tastes and assumptions as a lover of regret of Chunshan, if he said he understood, then there was most definitely a need to explain. Is there any reason for your distinguished self to visit at such late hours? Shen Jingzhou asked. If there is, please explain. If not, let's all rest. Thank you, I won't be seeing you out. Actually, it wasn't anything major, said Tianlang Jun. There was just a minor abnormality. And I didn't know where Judy Lang had run off to, so I checked here first. But it seems that it was not the time. No matter. Please continue. I don't mind. What a fucking fucking perv. That's your nephew. You degenerate. Oh my god. I love him. Oh my god. Please continue. I'm in the country. He's sad. He is sad. This is all he wants to do, I guess. God, he's just like me for real, for real. Is this MXTX's self-insert? Oh my god. Where was I? I don't mind. My lord, said Tianlang. Whenever he spoke another word, Luo Bingke exerted more force. Whenever he shifted his legs slightly, Luo Bingke exerted more force. Whenever he tried to change positions, Luo Bingke also exerted more force. He exerted more and more force, and a torrent of demonic qi poured in through the small of Tianlang's back until a bitter taste rose in his mouth. Tianlang didn't know what it meant to... I can't with this. Tianlang didn't know what it meant to feel bummed out, but he was certainly experiencing what it was like to be bummed out right now. He sure as hell was bummed out. Oh my god. So stupid. Alright, said Shen Qingzhou. Many thanks for your consideration. Then we'll continue. Please see yourself out. But Tianlang Jun did not seem about to leave. Instead, he found a stool and sat down. Why does Peak Lord Shen not ask me exactly what I mean by a minor abnormality? He asked leisurely. This is most unlike your previous curiosity and enthusiasm. It looked like this guy wasn't going to be so easy to chase off. Realizing that he couldn't escape this problem, Shen Qingzhou instantly calmed down and smiled. If Tianlang Jun really likes to watch, then it is no matter if he wishes to converse and livens things up. Please, go ahead. And so, Tianlang Jun began livening things up. Not long ago, the Jinmo sword I kept by my side suddenly began to levitate and hum persistently. Clearly no one was summoning it, yet this phenomenon occurred. It truly demands one pay a bit of attention. Shen Qingzhou immediately understood that the one thing Luo Bingke needed to worry about, which he hadn't had a chance to explain, was, in short, Jinmo. After all, a sword that followed Luo Bingke for so many years would inevitably have some sort of reaction when its master appeared nearby. Verily, that is a curious event, Shen Qingzhou said, but I'm afraid there isn't much meaning in Tianlang Jun's discussing this with me. Tianlang Jun slowly stood. It is most definitely meaningless to discuss it with Peak Lord Shen, but if a certain naughty child comes looking for him, then that would make it very meaningful. Though it was only a few short words, with every couple he spoke, he would pause, taking a step closer to the bed each time. Shen Qingzhou was visibly holding onto Tianlang with both arms, and Luo Bingke was secretly pinching Tianlang's acupoint. As Tianlang Jun took step after step, getting closer and closer, the force behind this master disciple pair's actions grew and grew. Tianlang Jun truly was. Nope, that was wrong. Tianlang truly was. Very much without fault, and very much unfortunate. This poor boy. Just as Tianlang Jun made to lift the bed curtains, the shrill and sonorous cry of a wild beast sounded from outside the tent. He whipped around to look. Outside the white tent, firelight surged into the skies, while soaring black shadows were cast from all directions. The roars of beasts mixed with hysterical screams. Invaders! Surround him! All of you, surround him! Don't let him escape! He's gotten out! Blade met blade while swords and arrows tore through the air, uniting in a raucous chorus with the sound of fangs and claws tearing into flesh. Tianlang Jun didn't have time to say a single word and darted out of the tent. Shen Jingzhou's heart dropped back down from where it had been suspended. The invader's timing was just perfect. And I'm also going to take my break right here because there's a bit happening. So, my ad is about to run and I will do that. I will let that run. So 3 minutes max. I'll be right back. Okay? Okay. See you soon. And we're back, bitches. We are back. We are back to reading. We're back to reading because we're nerds. I love being this gay nerd. Yes. Let's get right back into it. I'm not even. We're just gonna get right back into it. Right back into it. Okay, we're at the bottom of page 135. No, middle, bottom. Bottom. This invader's timing was just perfect. Ugh. Luo Bingke flipped off the bed and helped Shen Qingzhou down. Judy had been tossed to the floor and was unable to move for the time being. Shen Qingzhou looked down and said, "Many thanks for just now." With Zhuji degree of loyalty, not disregarding his personal safety, to yell, "My lord, it's them! It was these two!" counted as intentional help. Upon hearing this, Zhuji sighed. This humble one understands. Understands what? Shen Jingzhou asked. Luo Bingke was impatient. Why waste time talking to him? Tianlang looked up and said in full sincerity, to alleviate the pain of longing, immortal Master Shen had to clandestine what? Oh my god. To alleviate the pain of longing, immortal Master Shen had a clandestine encounter in the depths of night. Though this would inevitably be a blight upon his honor, the circumstances are understandable. Shen Jingzhou had no words. This child had probably spent so long by Tianlang Jun's side that he'd assimilated the latter's thought patterns. Indeed, Shen Jingzhou really shouldn't have wasted his time talking to him. The master-disciple pair slunk out of the tent, only to see that, not too far away on the overgrown plains, the dark masses of the southern border demon army had surrounded someone or something. The two dazzling, pure white silhouettes in the center were especially eye-catching. Sorry, I'm really excited. One with a sword swooping with unstoppable momentum, while the other was a person who left not a blade of grass or shard of armor in his wake. The circle surrounding him was broken again and again, and new demons filled in the gaps one after another. Tianlang Jun's honest words of admiration drifted over on the night wind. Excellent blade work, excellent spiritual power. The newcomer stood atop the... Is it just this single exchange that created the ship? Oh my god, I love it. I ship it. Excellent blade, excellent spiritual war power. The newcomer stood atop the head of a giant armor-wearing wolf that he had slain with his bare hands. His white clothes were spotless, and he was marred only by a small splatter of blood across his cheek. So sexy! This fighting style that went for max fanfare, that was simple and brutal, and where the attacker seemed loath to leave a single member of the empty camp unaware of his grand arrival, certainly didn't let down Baijian Peak's reputation for arrogance and love of battle. It was, say it with me, folks, Luchinga! I'm fine. Two pure white wargs leapt through the crowd of beasts to prostrate themselves at Tianlang Jun's feet. One raised its head, and a human voice came from its mouth. My lord, it's Sangchong Mountain's Baijian Peak Lord, Luchinga. Tianlang Jun nodded. So that's how it is. No wonder his blade work and spiritual power are so superb. But why would the Baijian Peak Lord suddenly grace the southern border with his presence? Luchinga leaned to the side slightly, and Chenglan flew back into his hand. He flicked away the beads of blood gathered upon the blade tip, and said coolly, Is Shen Jingzhou here? I love him. I love him so fucking much. Shen Jingzhou was overwhelmed by this show of favor. What was Great Master Lu here to rescue him? Nope, that was wrong. What? Was Great Master Lu here to rescue him? Lu Binghe took a glance at the expression on his face and pursed his lips. Tianlang Jun finally understood. So you're here to look for Peak Lord Shen. He is indeed here with me. Bring him out, said Luchinga. It may be a bad time for him, you see, Tianlang Jun said suggestively. And even if he did, he likely wouldn't want to return to Sangchong Mountain with you. Shen Jingzhou didn't even know what complaints to Shen Jingzhou didn't even know what complaints to sputter at this. Luchinga squinted. One of the wargs at Tianlang Jun's feet said, 100 battles by John Peak, they say. In my opinion, they don't truly deserve a name. I heard that when this Luchinga fought that Lu Binghe kid, he lost horribly countless times. He hasn't lived up to that Peak name for a long while. It should be called 99 Battles' Peak by now. Now he should be called the 98 Battles' Peak Lord. Wait, what? Who said this? Oh, this is the other one. No, he should be called the 98 Battles' Peak Lord. the other continued. If he fought our lord, he'd lose without a doubt. The two beasts were so mouthy, psychophonatic and mouthy. Psychophonatic? Explain. I need a dictionary. With a disagreeable remark, the brawl broke out anew. With this disagreeable remark, the brawl broke out anew. Lu Qingge tapped his foot and flew forward like an arc of white lightning. Tianlang was in no hurry to enter the fray. With a casual flick of his arm, blood flew from his fingertips. When the droplets hit the ground, they didn't soak into the dirt, but instead solidified, quickly forming into 6 blood wolves with crimson fur. They surrounded Lu Qingge, biting and tearing at him as they circled him like wheels of wind and fire. With incredible ease, Lu Qingge unleashed Tianlang, and the heads of all 6 beasts separated from their bodies, melting them back into liquid form. But when the sword flew back at him, the blood wolves rapidly coalesced again, and continued their dance of bared fangs and waving claws. Though Lu Qingge's attack was powerful and precise, without a flaw to be named, neither did it have any actual effect, nor did Tianlang lower his bleeding hand. He kept it lazily extended, and as the blood dripped down, new beasts sprang up, one after another. He's bleeding that much and his face doesn't even pale for a second. Is he a mobile blood bank? Lu Qingge was here to save him. Shen Qingzhou couldn't just remain an onlooker, watching this fire from the opposite shore, remaining aloof to the conflict. He was about to move when Lu Bingke stole ahead of him and dashed outside. Tianlang looked intently at Lu Bingke. So you came after all. Shizun is here, how could I not come? Shizun is here, how could he not come? How could he not come? Lu Bingke said coldly. Judilang, look at this face of his, Tianlang said with a smile. Wow. The sight of this look of cold fury truly makes me happy. Judilang? Only now did he realize that Judilang still hadn't arrived, and no one was there to chime in. A disappointed expression crossed Tianlang face. Off to the side, Lu Qingge was about to speak when he suddenly saw Shen Qingzhou and forgot the insults he was about to spit. He froze for a second, then shouted, "Hey!" Shen Qingzhou waved back in greeting. He just, "Hi! Hi! Hey, you came a long way! What's up?" The shock on Tianlang face grew rather than waned. He turned toward Lu Bingke. So, just now, in there, all 3 of you? He took 3 pauses for the entire sentence, but Shen Qingzhou still understood what he meant to express. He couldn't say whether Lu Bingke understood, but the latter leapt into battle with a dark look on his face. The fight, encircled by a throng of beasts on the plain, immediately became a 3-way battle royale. Tianlang fought 2, Lu Qingge also fought 2, and Lu Bingke fought 1 and ignored 1, while simultaneously meeting the attacks of 2. Black chi and white light flashed everywhere, and the hum of swords and cries of beasts surged into the skies. Lu Qingge wanted to come to Shen Qingzhou's aid, but the circle surrounding him amassed more and more. Tianlang spun, transforming into a small tornado, and a dozen blood beasts were dragged inside, shredding into thousands of flying droplets of blood. Shen Qingzhou yelled, "Close your mouth! Don't swallow it!" Lu Qingge didn't need to close his mouth at all, because the blood couldn't touch him in the first place. But Tianlang laughed. "I had forgotten that Peak Lord Shen was still here." He's such a bitch. Shen Qingzhou rather wished he'd stayed forgotten. As soon as Tianlang remembered him, he was doomed to no longer have a good time. Twisting pains crawled up from his stomach in thickets. Lu Bingke had been the fiercest fighter, with every strike aimed at Tianlang. Now his momentum abruptly slowed, and his attention was also divided. Shen Qingzhou called out, "Keep fighting! Don't mind me!" He neither cried nor shouted, but returned to the tent and dragged Judilang with him, a smile twisting his face. "Now this time, you can't throw yourself on my sword again, can you?" Judilang was helpless. Immortal Master Shen and my lord have both granted me great favor. Why must you... Thank you. Appreciate that. Why must you always put me in difficult situations? Cold sweat trickled down Shen Qingzhou's spine from the pain, and he shot him a perfunctory retort to distract himself. You certainly spare your debts and grudges very clearly. Every single one of the Demon Realm's public servants were as honestly devoted to their profession as Xia Hualing, never forgetting to evangelize their bosses for a second. Even beneath Shen Qingzhou's sword, Zhu Jilang kept cajoling him. Cajoling? Uh-oh. That's right. So since... Who is saying this? Jilang. That's right. So since the four major sects used lowly methods to besiege and entrap my lord, one day they must pay. And since my lord said that not one of Sangchong Mountain, Jiahua Monastery, Huanhua Palace, nor Tianyi Temple would be spared, not a single one will be spared. When he mentioned Huanhua Palace, Shen Qingzhou's heart suddenly clenched. After his escape from Huanhua Palace's water prison, he had heard that every one of the Huanhua Palace disciples guarding the water prison had been killed. Not even Gong Yi Zhao had survived. The blame for this had fallen on Shen Qingzhou's head, and in turn, he had slapped it onto Lo Bingke's. All this time, on the run, he'd never had the chance to figure out exactly who'd done the deed. Zhu Jilang treated Shen Qingzhou well because some time ago he had stopped Gong Yi Zhao from killing him, so he counted as a benefactor. Conversely, to Zhu Jilang, Gong Yi Zhao must have been an enemy. Shen Qingzhou asked, Do you remember a person called Gong Yi Zhao? Zhu Jilang thought for a moment. That Huanhua Palace disciple? So he did remember. Some time ago, I went to the water prison to meet Immortal... Oh, this is him, okay. Some time ago, I went to the water prison to meet Immortal Master Shen, but by the time I arrived, you were already gone, and only that disciple was left, wandering around alone. The night was dark, and this humble one mistook him for Lo Bingke, and so went to investigate. Shen Qingzhou understood. From the back, Gong Yi Zhao's figure and silhouette were indeed somewhat similar to Lo Bingke's. At first glance, even their face had subtle similarities. So for a period of time, Shen Qingzhou had felt especially close to Gong Yi Zhao. Zhu Jilang continued. Later, after I realized he was the head disciple of Huanhua Palace, who had entered the mushroom cave with Immortal Master Shen in Bailu Forest, I killed him on the way out. Zhu Jilang really was a very simple demon, and as his uncle said, a little foolish. Tianlang Jun offered him support, so Zhu Jilang would follow him to the death. Shen Qingzhou inadvertently saved him, so Zhu Jilang... What did I say? Shen Qingzhou? Yeah, so Zhu Jilang had also tried to repay him, albeit by his own logic. Along the same lines, every slight had to be avenged. But Gong Yi Zhao's death had been rather profoundly undeserved. He had only been about to kill Zhu Jilang. He hadn't actually done it. When Shen Qingzhou had parted with Gong Yi Zhao in the water prison, the boy had said, If we have the fortune to meet again, Senior must keep his promise and bring me to visit Qingjing Peak. This Junior will be waiting. It was as if these words were still ringing in Shen Qingzhou's ears. Shen Qingzhou found it hard to look directly at Zhu Jilang. The ease with which he had looked at him previously was already gone. Zhu Jilang had just noticed this change when Shen Qingzhou stood up and walked off. Zhu Jilang was surprised. Where are you going? Whatever, as long as it's far away, said Shen Qingzhou. Heavenly demons were all lunatics. Being with one lunatic had to be better than being with two. At least, that one listened to him. Zhu Jilang looked like he'd been stabbed. I just want to treat the people who've helped me well, he said quickly. Is there something wrong with that? The problem is that you think what you're doing is treating me well, but I don't think the same, Shen Jingzhou said. With every step he took, he felt his blood vessels twitching, like thousands and thousands of insects were squirming and biting within him. Luo Bingke looked back at him again and again, only barely avoiding being struck several times. Zhu Dilang raised his voice. Even if Immortal Master Shen will meet a miserable end, he would still insist on taking their side. Shen Jingzhou didn't answer, just kept walking. At the sight of this, Zhu Dilang said quietly, I understand. Just after those words left his mouth, the dull pain within Shen Jingzhou's body dispersed. Nope, disappeared. Tianlang Jun's voice rose, carrying a hint of irritation. What are you doing? Of everyone present, only the heavenly demons knew what was going on. Shen Jingzhou's body had 3 sets of blood mites within it, and Luo Bingke had been fighting 1-on-2, at a slight disadvantage. But just then, Zhu Dilang stopped inciting his blood mites to fight against Luo Bingke's, and instead changed sides to join hands with Luo Bingke to suppress Tianlang Jun's blood. If it no longer hurt, what did he have to fear? Shen Jingzhou drew Xu Ya, leapt onto his sword, and yelled, Lushidi, let's go! Seeing him fly in his direction, Lu Qingge also flipped atop Cheng Luan. Tianlang Jun finally stopped playing around with his blood and attacked with a palm strike billowing with demonic qi, only to be parried by Luo Bingke. As Shen Jingzhou passed by, he reached out to grab Luo Bingke, and Luo Bingke raised his own arm in return. In a seamless sequence of movements, their hands connected, and with a pull, Shen Jingzhou brought Luo Bingke onto Xu Ya. 2 sets of sword glares shot off toward the horizon. Wails and cries echoed all around the plain. Tianlang Jun snapped his fingers, and the remaining several dozen blood beasts lost all their power, their skin, fur, and fangs rapidly melting. Before long, they turned into a splatter of blood droplets and soaked into the ground. He looked at Zhu Dilang. Letting them go just like that? Zhu Dilang didn't say a word, going down on one knee. Tianlang Jun possessed admirable composure, and his anger only persisted for a moment before it I can't read, I will miss. And his anger only persisted for a moment before it passed. You went to all that trouble, yet he didn't appreciate it one bit, only wholeheartedly rushed down the road to ruin. Zhu Dilang, your lord is sympathetic. Motioning for Zhu Dilang to get up, he casually remarked, But there is no need to be upset. One day, Peak Lord Shen will understand you are doing what is best for him. A day not far from this one. Looking again at the night horizon, Tianlang Jun said, But I really never imagined. To think Peak Lord Shen likes it with more people. Does there need to be at least 3 every time? Silence reigned. Zhu Dilang's heart, originally turbulent, instantly became a wind-ravaged wasteland, absent a single blade of grass. His lord had probably been reading those strange illustrated pamphlets from the human realm again. Let me see. That's a scene break. We have about 10 pages left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have about 16 pages left. Should we try to finish this chapter, or should we save it for next? Let's see how big the next chapter is. Are you with thickums or thinums? I don't know. Oh, it's pretty thick. Oh, it's pretty big. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. That's about 160 to it's about 40 pages. 40. You know what? Let's just finish this, and then that way we can have the next chapter be in one stream, all in one go. Because we can do 40 pages in one go. Yeah. This one just might be a little longer. We'll see. I'm still okay. But first, I need to check something real quick. No. Never mind. Alright. Ugh. Oh, wedgie. Alright. We are at the bottom of page 144. The trio flew kilometers away, heading straight for the borderlands. Lu Qingge hadn't thought Shen Jingzhou would bring Luo Bingke as well. What did you grab him for? He snapped. Why are the two of you together? Lu Qingge and Luo Bingke held deep grudges against each other, and Shen Jingzhou couldn't properly explain within a short amount of time, so he just said vaguely, there are reasons. When Shen Jingzhou didn't refute them being together, Luo Bingke's eyes brightened and his lips also curved into a smile. At the sight of him overflowing with joy for no particular reason, Lu Qingge was alarmed and formed a seal with his hand, spiritual energy sparking between his fingers. Shen Jingzhou, get over here. Luo Bingke's expression changed faster than a flipped page. He had been all tender affection the moment before, but in the next, contempt filled his features, and he tightened his arms around Shen Jingzhou's waist. Luo Bingke had already been holding him tight, and with this added force, Shen Jingzhou almost couldn't breathe. He slapped Luo Bingke's hands away before saying, Lucidity, it is indeed somewhat complicated. Let's get away first, and I'll take my time to explain later. Trust me for now. I trust you, said Lu Qingge, but I don't trust him. I trust him, Shen Jingzhou replied without a moment's hesitation. Lu Qingge's brows furrowed, and he said harshly, You trusted him before, and how did that end? Luo Bingke's faint smile was like needles hidden within cotton floss, his voice neither cold nor warm. Shizun already said he trusted me. Why are you still wasting your breath? Have you not had enough fighting? Is that how you speak to your Shishu? Said Shen Jingzhou. Lu Qingge didn't speak much in the first place, so who was wasting his breath? In fact, he didn't say anything further and instead flung out a spiritual blast. We're flying at high altitude. Is it fun fighting atop swords? Careful, safety first. Shen Jingzhou veered slightly off course, but though Luo Bingke should have dodged the blow with this, he let out a muffled groan behind him. Shen Jingzhou turned. What is it? Had he really been hit? Luo Bingke shook his head. I'm fine. It doesn't hurt. Reasonably speaking, if Luo Bingke had been hit, it shouldn't be a big deal. Shen Jingzhou looked him over carefully and noticed that, in fact, a bit of black qi had gathered at the acupoint between his brows. He muttered, You don't look so good. After the fight, I was a bit dizzy, and now I'm dizzier, Luo Bingke said softly, his voice weak. But it's nothing really, just a spiritual blast. Lu Qingge's urge to face Luo Bingke in a bloody battle to the last grew and grew. How many times had they fought, and now one spiritual blast had him dizzy? Shen Jingzhou, move aside. Shen Jingzhou set him an apologetic smile. Lucidity, he was injured earlier and has only just healed. You mustn't stoop to his level. He doesn't know better. If he offended you, I'll apologize for him. He doesn't know any better. Oh, Shen Jingzhou, you've been gone for 5 years. How would you know? There was a dark look in Lu Qingge's face. He made a lot of mistakes before, but he won't from now on, Shen Jingzhou continued. I will definitely discipline him properly. Lu Qingge's face turned pale. You really trust him? Shen Jingzhou felt a bit guilty. Luo Bingke was still hugging him around the waist with that anxious expression on his face, like he was waiting for Shen Jingzhou's reply. To be honest, he had never genuinely trusted Luo Bingke before, and that was why he had kept accidentally hurting him, with the way things were now. I would rather believe... Oh. I would rather believe I can than prematurely determine that I cannot, he said. In a household with children who didn't know better, the adults never had it easy. After offering up apologetic explanations, Shen Qingzhou turned to compliments. After being apart these many days, it seems Lu Shidi's cultivation has advanced again. Lu Qingge lifted his chin. Many days. How long has it been? Lu Qingge lifted his chin. I just exited seclusion. When Lo Bingge had launched a siege upon Sangchong Mountain, Lu Qingge had told him, "Just you wait." Following this, he had indeed gone to cultivate in seclusion. After leaving, he had gone directly to rescue Shen Qingzhou. Shen Qingzhou rubbed his nose, feeling that a simple thank you seemed insufficient. How did you know to come to the southern border to find me? After Lu Qingge left seclusion, he had rushed at top speed to Lo Bingge's territory on the Demon Realm's northern border, and slaughtered his way in, nearly overturning the whole place, only to find that Shen Qingzhou was not there. Lo Bingge wasn't there either, having apparently rushed by to give a few instructions before immediately leaving. Lu Qingge had subsequently caught that demoness called Sha whatever to interrogate her. However, Baijian Peak's interrogation method simply involved beating up the subjects, and at the very most involved beating them up to different degrees. Of course, Great Master Lu had some difficulties beating up a woman, and Sha Hualing was also a very difficult woman to deal with, so he hadn't extracted anything from her. Fortunately, he had to run... what? My boy. Fortunately, he had then run into Shang Qinghua, who had nothing to do beyond eating his fill and wandering around in boredom all day. Lu Qingge had absolutely no reservations about that guy. But as soon as he raised his fist, minor spelling mistake, Shang Qinghua spilled everything in an unceasing flood, including what Shen Qingzhou's diet in the demon realm was like, his daily diversions, and the vital information about how Shen Qingzhou had been taken to the southern border. After he'd squeezed this out of him, Lu Qingge had planned to execute the traitor on the spot. He hadn't anticipated that Shang Qinghua hugged his thighs and wailed like a banshee, swearing over and over that he had no choice and that he would turn over a new leaf. His cries would draw Mo Beijun's attention. Lu Qingge and Mo Beijun had subsequently fought, collapsing nearly half of Lo Bingge's underground palace, and this had cost Lu Qingge some time. He called his dog. I mean his boss, but it's also his big scary dog. I love Moshang. I love them so much. They're my favorite ship ever of all eternity, maybe? We'll see, I guess. This violent path of ups and downs was the one Great Master Lu had trod over the past few days. Going to such effort and trouble, Lu Qingge was truly more reliable than a blood brother. Note, a pun on Lu Qingge's name, since blood brother in Chinese is a near homophone for Qingge. Silly. After Shen Qingzhou expressed his overwhelming gratitude in his reserved manner, he swapped to a serious tone and changed the topic. Lu Shidi, I have business I must discuss with you. Speak. Do you know of Tianlang Jun? To the people of the cultivation world, this name was legendary. Years ago, the 4 major sects had emptied their halls for that battle in which Tianlang Jun had been sealed beneath Bailu Mountain. Though the forces of Sangchong Mountain had been one of the main participants, the ones who actually went to battle were the previous generation of Peak Lords. Of the current Peak Lords, only Yue Qingyuan had participated in that battle as the head disciple of Chongding Peak. With Xuansu, his talent had shown, and he had played a key part. Of course, Lu Qingge was not ignorant of this. The previous saintly ruler of the demon race, his physical body was destroyed 7 or 8 years ago. That his physical body was destroyed does not necessarily mean he died, said Shen Qingqiu. He might have shed his shell and escaped. Lu Qingge raised one eyebrow. Like you. Feeling guilty, Shen Qingqiu coughed. Exactly. Lu Qingge didn't pursue the topic. So he escaped? And then? Tianlang Jun plans to merge the demon and human realms. You mean he plans to attack the human realm? Shen Qingqiu had known that most people would easily confuse these concepts. When you say merge, many people would assume that you meant unite, but that actually wasn't the case. What Tianlang Jun planned to do with Jin Mo was the literal kind of merge. The demon and human realms were like two sides of the same sheet of paper, existing in two different dimensions. If you drew a line on one side of the paper, no matter how you extended it, you wouldn't end up on the other side. But Shin Mo could pierce the two sides of this sheet and render them one surface. Let's offer an example. The human realm mainland had a river called the Lo, and the demon realm had the Maigu Ridge. These two places were located in different dimensions. But in the original work, after Lo Bingke used Shin Mo as a key to merge the two realms, Maigu Ridge was patched into the center of the Lo River and became an isolated island. After receiving this simple explanation, Lu Qingge furrowed his brow. Such a thing is really possible? Of course. The original Lo Bingke succeeded at it. Shen Qingqiu nodded gravely. Lu Qingge thought, then said, This will have serious consequences. You'll need more evidence to convince the sect leaders. If evidence was what he needed, he really didn't have any. Shen Qingqiu was starting to get a headache when Lo Bingke, who had gone quiet for a while, suddenly spoke. Why doesn't Shizhen ask me? Lu Qingge replied before Shen Qingqiu could with a tisk. There were plenty of reasons for that tisk. Lo Bingke had demon blood, and he had long since dropped all pretenses with the sects. He was infamous across the land, and he had turned Huanhua Palace into a straight-up heretic cult. Though its power had not weakened but grown under his hand, the other great sects had exiled the palace from their ranks, and its status as a renowned righteous sect was only true in name. Of course, in that case, Lo Bingke could be of no help, so there probably wasn't any reason to ask him. Though Shen Qingqiu understood that, in his heart, he couldn't say so too frankly, he didn't know whether Lo Bingke's fragile glass heart would subsequently shatter. He let out a few awkward laughs but before he finished, a small bit of extra weight suddenly pressed against his back. Lo Bingke's head leaned lightly on his left shoulder. Shen Qingqiu thought he was acting cute again and tried to shake him off, but when he looked over, Lo Bingke's eyes were closed in peaceful sleep. He had fallen asleep while standing. Weren't you chatting perfectly fine just now? Shen Qingqiu reached behind himself and took a firm hold of Lo Bingke's arm to keep him from falling off the sword. Lo Bingke, he called quietly. No reaction. After a pause, Shen Qingqiu used a lower and brighter voice. Bingke? Only after being called twice did he slowly open his eyes. At the sight of his unfocused gaze, Shen Qingqiu couldn't resist asking, Are you really that tired? It was only a few days since the Holy Mausoleum, and even if the wounds Lo Bingke had suffered had healed quickly, they'd likely still left some lingering effects. Passing out now and then couldn't be considered surprising. Lo Bingke shook his head. I'm not. Shen Qingqiu thought it over, and then turned toward Lu Qingge, who was watching them with crossed arms and a cold gaze. Lushidi, after we cross the borderlands, why don't you go on ahead? Go back to Sangtong Mountain and summon the sects for a discussion with Jiangman Xishong and the others. Lu Qingge's eyes widened slightly. And you? I may be back a bit later, Shen Qingqiu said. With Bingke like this, the way I see it, it would be best to rest a bit before we continue. Lu Qingge drew a deep breath. I came to bring you back. Shen Qingqiu hesitated, while Lo Bingke didn't say a word and only kept his head down, looking extremely docile. Just one night, said Shen Qingqiu. Lo Chinga looked at Lo Binka tucked behind Shenjicho's back and snapped. Not even a night. Then what could he do? After another 2 hours, the trio crossed the borderlands and stopped before the largest inn in the city. This city was far from the central plains. There were plenty of local miscellaneous sects, but such spirited and handsome personages, with such lofty, awe-inspiring, immortal demeanors, were rarely seen, and 3 of them had shown up at once, each more handsome than the last. Quite a few people paused to observe. Lu Chinga lifted his chin and strode forward in long steps, Changluan in hand, leading the way across the threshold. The main hall was luxurious, spacious and bright, and the host immediately appeared to greet them. Lushidi, you're really going to stay with us? Asked Chen Qingqiu. He'd always had the feeling that Lu Chinga was the type to place himself above the troubles of the mortal world, who didn't need sleep at all, and even if he did sleep, he would do so on a spirit platform veiled by lingering clouds. So dramatic. Ugh. Lingering cloud, lingering, glittering cloud. It's glittering, not lingering. Okay, anyway. Lu Chinga crossed his arms, sword in hand, and said icily, I'm concerned. When he looked up, he just managed to catch Lo Binka silently scoffing behind Shen Jingqiu. Then Lo Binka's gaze slid sideways, a disdainful smile on his lips, his gaze overflowing with malice. Enraged, the veins on the hand with which Lu Chinga held Changluan began to pop. At the sight of this, Shen Jingqiu hurriedly said, If you have something to say, just say it. Don't get angry. Then he looked back, only to see Lo Binka giving him an innocent blink, his lips still pale. Good customers, are you here to stay the night? The host said with a smile. Lu Chinga ignored the host, and Lo Binka looked like he would fall over any minute, so Shen Jingqiu could only take charge for the exchange himself. That's right, he said. That's weird. Sorry, there's a printing mishap. It's fine. How many rooms? 3, said Shen Jingqiu. 2 rooms, said Lo Binka. Lu Chinga stopped just shy of writing Lu Chinga stopped just shy of writing a wolf's treacherous ambitions deserved both hatred and execution on his own face. 2 rooms, please, Lo Binka repeated pleasantly. Thank you. 3 rooms, said Lu Chinga. Lo Binka smiled. May I ask who's paying? Both Shen Jingqiu and Lu Chinga froze. There was no need to suggest Shen Jingqiu. He had just escaped a demon's lair. Why would he have something like money? Lu Chinga was even more out of the question. This sort of great master who was above the troubles of the mortal realm. What? Who was above the troubles of the mortal world, who had slaughtered his whole way here, would never have remembered to bring cash with him. It's me, said Lo Binka deliberately, and I didn't bring enough money, so 2 rooms. Lushidi, don't bicker with him, said Shen Jingqiu. There was no telling whether Lo Binka had done this on purpose. By now, Shen Jingqiu really didn't dare to assume. If money was the issue, there truly was no other way to resolve it. If they didn't have the funds, they couldn't just pawn off Xu Ya or Cheng Luan, could they? Whew, how much do we got? Okay, we're good. We're in the last stretch. Speaking of which, I should stretch. Ugh. After retrieving the tokens for their rooms, Lu Chinga led the way upstairs as Shen Jingqiu walked in the middle. He turned and said helplessly, If you anger your Shishu again, next time I'm selling you for money. Lo Binka looked up. Shizun, you're always so merciless with me. Ahead of them, Lu Chinga turned back and wrinkled his nose, looking like he wanted to hack these 2 degenerates to death, filled with enough disgust to bury one on a mountain peak and the other at the bottom of the ocean. The 2 rooms were right next to each other, and the distribution of occupants was a serious problem. Lu Chinga had his own considerations. Lobinka's character and actions were uniformly bizarre, and an evil hung about him. He had embraced a corpse for 5 years, and now Lobinka was standing before him in the flesh. How could he just let him have his way? Sparks seemed to crackle through the air. Calm and unruffled, Shen Qingqiu opened the door, turned, and closed it behind him. Then he suddenly opened it a crack and said solemnly, "Well, you two get some rest." The sparks froze into ice. "Hey," said Lu Qingge. The space between Lobinka's brows practically darkened into a black cloud. "Shizun, he'll kill me." Shen Qingqiu raised a finger at Lu Qingge. "Go ahead and fight, just don't kill him." "Yeah, right. Like he'd dare share a room with Lobinka, a straight man and a gay one staying in the same room? That was just asking for death. You've kissed him multiple times, and you weren't mad about kissing him. You were mad about other things. You stupid fucking bitch." Straight. A straight man. He's so stupid. And I love him. Yes, Shen Qingqiu still insisted. I read that wrong, but it's the same thing. Yes, Shen Qingqiu insisted he was still straight. His willingness to read a stallion novel like Proud Immortal Demon Way was rock-solid proof. No, not because of the protagonist. No way! He wouldn't read this because of the protagonist. Nor did he dare to share a room with Lu Qingge, though Great Master Lu was Sangchong Mountain's #1 straight man across all space and time. So straight it was evident to all the heavens and earth his straightness as certain a fact as the light of the sun and moon. If the demonic vinegar vat that was Lobinka overturned his sour contents, he would be even harder to deal with. In Chinese, drinking vinegar was a euphemism for being jealous. Fair enough. This is readers note, this is Shen Qingqiu saying this about Lu Qingge. I don't believe he's right. I think he is completely wrong. I think he's stupid and wrong. He said, "Of course I'm straight, and of course Lu Shidi is straight. Of course he is." For the above reasons, Shen Qingqiu happily said, "Then it's decided." Lobinka was about to weep. "Shizun, how can you bear to do this?" So emo. Shen Qingqiu chuckled and resolutely closed the door, leaving the other two petrified in the corridor, charred without and tender within. He had decided to find some place to rest because Lobinka looked tired and weak, but looking at him now, didn't he seem quite healthy? He'd been worried for nothing. After bathing, Shen Qingqiu changed into clean inner robes. Bored and with nothing to do, he spotted a few small, thin booklets stacked on a low table. Each had gaudy covers, and he couldn't really read the titles, but they were marked with numbers like 1, 2, and 3, so he pulled one out and leaned back against the headboard to read. Skimming through the lines 10 at a time, he found the text full of ornate prose and sentimental descriptions, and it even came with exquisite illustrations. Shen Qingqiu was about to take a closer look when that long-absent system notification came chirping at him. "Hello, notification number 1. Satisfaction points exceeded threshold. Drop conditions for key item achieved. Please prepare to receive. If the item is not withdrawn during the drop period, it will expire." A key item. That fake Jade Guanyin that could reduce up to 5,000 anger points. Shen Qingqiu tossed the booklet in his hands aside. "Wait a minute. Satisfaction points exceeded threshold. Drop conditions achieved for key item achieved. Are you saying that before... What? Are you saying that before, as I hadn't reached a certain amount of satisfaction points, the key item wasn't even usable?" Correct. Friendly cat. That is insane, cat. Like, you made another one. You made another one because you. Oh my god. That is crazy. What the fuck? Amazing. Then what the hell had been the point of asking him whether he wanted to use it before? If he activated it without having met the prerequisite conditions, wouldn't he have had to use the small scenario pusher anyway? And there really wasn't a use for this item anymore, was there? Shen Jingzhou seriously believed that henceforth, even if he didn't get gay with Lil Binka, as long as he didn't get gay with anyone else, the protagonist's anger points wouldn't explode. Even if he shoved Lil Binka to the ground and tried to beat him to death, the only point value that would increase would be satisfaction. Oh, you little masochist. Notification number 2. High energy ahead. Footnote. This is a meme from the Chinese version of Mobile Suit Gundam, playing off the line high-level energy reaction detected ahead. People often leave it as a bullet comment when something exciting is about to happen in a show or video. Ah! Did I just give myself a paper cut? No, I didn't. Okay, we're fine. An important quest is about to appear at Jiaohua Monastery. Please be prepared to accept it. Have a good one. Version 2.0 even came with a high energy ahead notifications. I read that wrong, but that's okay. Come to think of it, Lil Binka had occasionally been exceedingly intimate with Shen Jingzhou, but his satisfaction points had never increased. Shen Jingzhou had been confused by this. This wasn't him being narcissistic. It was just that with Lil Binka's sorry tendencies of raking in satisfaction points from every single glare, scolding, or beating, it really was unscientific that they hadn't doubled by now. Had Shen Jingzhou just failed to hear or otherwise missed these notifications? When he opened the system's database, the satisfaction points really hadn't increased that much. When he asked about this, the system said, because the satisfaction point value has recently increased with excessive frequency, satisfaction points will be calculated monthly in order to conserve system resources. Have a good one. Calculated monthly? Shen Jingzhou had a premonition that it would be a terrifying number. He was just about to ponder whether any important plot points occurred at Jiaohua Monastery around this time when someone lightly knocked on his door. And that, my friends, is the end of the chapter. Wow, we read a full chapter in one stream. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Did we read 50 pages? How many pages did we read? Hang on, what is 157 minus 112? Yo, that's more like 60 pages, isn't it? Anyway, that's the end of the chapter, and I will be leaving you to do whatever the fuck you want. I love this book. I love it so much. I really have to pee though. That's why I'm trying to get out of here really fast. I fucking love it. I love it so much. I really do. I'm excited. The next chapter is called Origins. Guys, Origins. That was a long chapter, but we might be able to get through it next time. Oh boy. Thanks for reading. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks OBS for actually working for once, kind of. It still says unstable on my Twitch, but I don't give a shit. I don't care. That's fine. Should we find someone to raid? Shall we find someone to raid? Let's see. Let me see. Iron Mouse. I'm kidding. I would never do that. I'm way too scared to do that. Yeah. Hey, let's raid Fenrir. Let's raid Fenrir. Why not? They were here in a second. They were here just now, so let's raid them. All right. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time. All right. Have a good one. Have a good one, as the system says. Have a good one. Okay. Okay. Yes. Be safe. I'll see you later. Bye.